Hi, I'm Paul Duncan. I write and edit books, and I love the novelist Gerald Kersh, and I want to share that love, that passion with you today. On October 9th, 1963, around 5:30 or 6 a.m., Gerald Kersh rose as usual and began the first rough sculpturing of a new novel, tentatively titled Poor Tom Henceforth, which he hoped and believed would be a major work. He needed it to be a success in America. Though born in London, he had left for America in 1954, where he was already established as a best-selling author. His last novel to be published in the US was Fowler's End in 1957. For 5 years, each of his books had been rejected by American publishers. The Implacable Hunter, the masterful story of St. Paul told by the Roman soldier who hunted him down, had been rejected by US publishers, several citing religious reasons. Kersh planned a series of murder mysteries starring female reporter Little Snowdrop, the first of which was A Long Cool Day in Hell, published in the UK and rejected in America, but it died a death, and so did the series. His biggest blow came with The Dab Chick. The novel revolved around a woman who holds two men in the palm of her hand as they pursue her. His agent, Elizabeth Otis, told people it was a portrait of Kersh's ex-wife, Lee. That killed the book. On top of this, the magazine market, which supplemented his income between novels, had dried up. Kersh and his third wife, Flossie, in financial peril, had to move further and further from New York, ending up in a shack in upstate New York. So it was, under these circumstances, that on October 9th, 1963, somewhere between 5:30 and 6 a.m., that Gerald Kersh woke and began the first draft of Poor Tom Henceforth. The novel is composed of several complex structures, creating something akin to a prose version of those Russian dolls that contain multiples within them. One character reminisces about another, then this second character takes over to recount stories in differing times and places, at which time a third character, and so on. Disconcerting at first, seemingly stream of consciousness, it eventually plays like a jazz piece, revealing its true structure after several chapters. There are 3 love stories, all connected by Steve Zabrany, proprietor of the Angel and the Cuckoo, a cafe in a courtyard hidden beyond the doorway at one end of Carnaby Street in Soho, London. Beginning early one morning in 1937, no doubt somewhere in between 5:30 to 6 a.m., the good-natured Hungarian Zabrany reflects on how he purchased the cafe sight unseen in 1911 through his friend, Jesus Say. Say wrongs all those he comes into contact with and profits financially from them, whereas Zabrany trusts and believes in everybody. Thus, Say's machinations garner him passage to pastures new, but Zabrany, cast away in Masham Court, finds Alma, the love of his life, his best friend John Howdigo. So who has profited most from the transaction? Artist Tom Henceforth takes it upon himself to make a sign for Zabrany's cafe. After 24 hours scavenging London and assembling the pieces, Tom presents Zabrany with the sign. From a certain angle, the sign is obscene and so becomes a local landmark. Che and Henceforth take over the story. Che becomes powerful Hollywood film producer Gabrielle Chess and falls for Arabella Moon. Henceforth frequents the world of crooks, con men, artists, writers and other forms of lowlife after falling for Lady Patricia d'Ordinay. The story bounces between these characters, between different times in their lives, between locations, but always we are drawn back to Zabrany and Soho. Kersh sent a 558-page manuscript of The Angel and the Cuckoo to Heinemann on March 27, 1965. Kersh wrote, "It's my first novel to be out in America for 10 years. I feel somewhat as I felt 33 years ago when I first got into print." As the author of 18 novels and hundreds of short stories, Kersh had developed a stock company of characters and types, much like film directors John Ford, Ingmar Bergman and Pedro Almodovar, who cast a stock company to play their screen personas. So Kersh cast his novels with the variations from previous works. In this respect, The Angel and the Cuckoo can be considered a summation of his life's work, since it features a number of these characters. The reason for their fecundity in this novel may lie in the discovery that during the planning and writing of it, Kersh was told that he had throat cancer. Before the operation that rendered him dumb, throughout the period of investigation and diagnosis of his cancer, it is not hard to imagine Kersh reliving and reimagining his past life in Soho and the people he knew and loved there. Kersh's father Hyman, a master tailor who died in 1929 when Kersh was just 18, is the basis for Mark Leonoff, a dignified old man of integrity and character, in Kersh's first novel, Jews Without Jehovah. Hyman had known for 2 years that he had kidney stones, but kept it from his family and died in tremendous pain. It is fair to say that Kersh wrote variations of him in most of the London novels. Colonel Bulba in Men Are So Ardent, Allied the Terrible Turk in Night in the City, and Zabrani here. And in each we watch the old man suffer, sometimes unto death, yet retain his dignity. The pushy small man who rises from rags to riches on a little bit of luck and common sense, but mostly on nerve, is film producer Jesus Shea here. But he was also being hunchbacked Solomon Swartz in The Thousand Deaths of Mr. Small. And cinema manager Sam Udno in Fowler's End. And film producer Walter Chinchilla in An Ape, a Dog and a Serpent. The troubled artist who cannot create anything worthwhile, Tom Henceforth here, has many brothers in Kersh's work, from author John Leonoff in Jews Without Jehovah, to sculptor Adam in The Night in the City, and writer John Pym in The Sign of the Flea. Obviously, an autobiographical figure, each of them are placed in 1930s London before Kersh became a best-selling author. There are many other examples in The Angel and the Cuckoo, but don't think that such characters are empty repetitions of previous books. If anything, this novel represents a deepening of Kersh's understanding of his archetypes. For example, Che could simply be the villain of the piece, but gradually we see that he is as much a victim of his nature as the people around him. Now, The Angel and the Cuckoo was published by New American Library on May 28, 1966, that's this edition, and Kersh asked for copies to be sent to his friends and admirers Henry Miller, William Saroyan, Al Capp, Ellery Queen, J.B. Priestley, Jane Fonda and John Steinbeck, and waited for the reviews. They did not come. Although highly recommended by the industry press and to libraries, the public at large did not get to hear about the novel because internal disputes at the publisher meant no publicity was issued. 2 years later, total US hardback sales were a meagre 2,554. This from an author who had sold over 1 million hardback copies of Night in the City 20 years earlier. Heinemann published The Angel and the Cuckoo in the UK to modest critical acclaim. After reviewing 30 books over 30 years, critics had become inured to his charms and blind to his quality. It doesn't help that the book is hugely amusing. Let's face it, nobody takes comedy seriously. Yet the comedy in The Angel and the Cuckoo is not placed there simply for the enjoyment of the reader. It is used to distract from and dissipate the pain and suffering and embarrassment of the central characters. After reading a farcical account of Tom Henceforth's first love affair, we later discover that Tom added the farce to cover up his failure to woo the maiden. It is a strategy taken from Kersh's own life to transform the distress and despair of his cancer into laughter and amusement. It was his strategy to keep a pitiless universe at bay. After completing his last novel, Brock, Kersh passed away on Tuesday, November 5, 1968, riddled with cancer, leaving Flossie alone to handle their many debts. A couple of months later, Flossie wrote, "Gerald was the quintessential artist born. His kin, those of us closest to him, even physical pain, all were secondary. That is, early in life, Gerald made his choice. He was dedicated, vowed, given over. An extreme example is, of course, that 5 years of throat cancer could be fended off, held at bay, because of a yet greater struggle, and that is Gerald's tearing out of his own innards, apart from delightful short stories, 2 beautiful novels. Brock is fun, but The Angel and the Cuckoo is the last great masterpiece of Gerald Kersh." Gerald Kersh was asked, "What do you consider the distinguishing or important aspects of this book?" He replied, "It is amusing, it is readable, it is rereadable, it represents money well spent by whoever buys it." The Angel and the Cuckoo is currently in print, published by London Books. Buy it, it will be money well spent. And while you're at it, you can buy Night in the City as well, also published by London Books. See you next time.